You are not broke because money is missing. You are broke because the world has learned it can buy your time, your attention, your loyalty, and your energy at a discount. Look at Ethan Walker. He wakes up before sunrise in a small apartment outside Dallas, checks his bank app before his feet even touch the floor, and feels that familiar pressure in his chest when he sees the same numbers staring back at him. Rent is coming. Gas is higher than he expected. His credit card balance is still sitting there like a quiet insult. And the worst part is not that Ethan is lazy, because he is not. The worst part is that he has done almost everything society told him to do. He shows up early. He answers fast. He stays polite. He helps people who never help him back. He works extra hours without making noise. He tells himself that one day, someone will notice. One day, the effort will speak for itself. One day, money will finally reward the good man. But that day keeps moving farther away. Meanwhile, someone with less skill, less patience, and far less loyalty seems to move ahead faster. Someone else gets the raise. Someone else gets the better deal. Someone else gets taken seriously the moment he walks into the room. And Ethan stands there wondering the same question millions of men in America ask in silence. Why am I doing everything right and still feeling so cheap? Here is the cold truth nobody taught you. Money does not automatically move toward the hardest worker. Money moves toward the person the market cannot easily replace, pressure, access, or predict. That is the first wound Ethan has to look at without flinching. He is not underpaid only because his boss is unfair. He is underpaid because too much of him is available for free. His time is available. His emotional reaction is available. His plans are available. His explanations are available. His desire to be seen as dependable is available. And once the world realizes you are always available, it quietly lowers your price. This is the hidden price system. No one announces it. No one sends you an email about it. No teacher stands at a whiteboard and says, "Be careful," because every time you give unlimited access to yourself, people will slowly start treating you like something common. But that is exactly how life works. If Ethan replies to every text in 30 seconds, people assume his time is cheap. If he accepts every favor request without conditions, people assume his energy has no gate. If he tells everyone his next plan before it produces results, people assume they have permission to comment, doubt, copy, or slow him down. If he explains himself to people who are not invested in his future, he teaches them that his peace can be bought with a question, a smirk, or a little disapproval. This is why being good is not enough. This is why being talented is not enough. This is why working hard in silence is not enough if your silence still comes with open doors, weak boundaries, and a desperate need to be understood. Ethan used to believe that money was a reward for character. He thought if he stayed decent, patient, and useful, the world would eventually pay him back. But the world is colder than that. The world does not ask how much you sacrificed. It asks how much leverage you have. It asks whether losing you would create a problem. It asks whether access to you has a cost. It asks whether your value is protected or left sitting out in the open like a wallet on a public bench. Think about that. The most expensive rooms in America are not open to everyone. The most powerful people do not explain every move. The most valuable opportunities are not passed around to anyone who looks bus. And this is where the hard road becomes honest. It does not test you with poetry. It tests you with pressure. Not the kind you imagine when you are motivated at midnight, watching successful people speak from a stage, feeling for a few minutes as if your entire life is about to change. No, real pressure arrives at 6:10 in the morning when the alarm cuts through a silent apartment. Your body feels heavy. Your bank account still looks humiliating. Your inbox is full, and nobody cares whether you feel inspired or not. That is the moment most people quietly return to the crowd. They do not announce defeat. They simply negotiate with themselves. One more hour of sleep. One more week before starting. One more excuse dressed up as self-care. Then they wonder why nothing changes. Listen carefully. Pressure is not here to destroy you. Pressure is here to reveal what you are made of. It is the furnace that separates diamond from soft clay. Clay complains about heat. Diamond is formed by it. And the brutal truth is that you have spent too much of your life asking for a cooler room instead of becoming something that can survive the temperature. A difficult manager at work, a slow business month, a failed application, a lonely weekend, an empty phone, a credit card balance that makes your stomach tighten. These are not random punishments. These are filters. They expose whether your ambition is real or only a costume you wear when life feels easy. Anyone can speak about greatness when the rent is paid, the body is rested, and people are clapping. But when the room is quiet, when your results are invisible, when the people around you start looking at you with that little half smile, as if they already know you will quit, that is when your true level appears. Do you collapse into emotion, or do you become colder, cleaner, and more disciplined? That is the difference between a man who wants status and a man who can carry it. Society has trained you to treat discomfort like a warning sign. If it feels hard, stop. If it feels lonely, seek comfort. If it feels unfair, complain until someone agrees with you. That teaching sounds compassionate, but it creates weak adults who cannot hold position under pressure. And in the real world, no one respects a person who can only function when conditions are perfect. The world respects the one who still moves when the weather is ugly, when the highway is jammed, when the paycheck is thin, when the dream looks foolish, when every easy voice says, "Be realistic." You think people are watching your talent. They are not. They are watching your consistency under heat. They are watching whether you shake when things become inconvenient. They are watching whether one hard week is enough to make you betray your own plan. Because once they see that pressure can bend you, they know exactly where to press next time. This is why your root mistake is not lack of potential. Your root mistake is emotional softness toward pressure. You keep treating pressure like an enemy, when it is actually the entrance fee to a higher position. You want to be respected, but you still want life to speak gently to you. You want more money, but you panic when the first risk appears. You want power, but you still need comfort before you act. That contradiction is why you remain stuck. A higher life will not open its gate to a lower version of you. It will stand there like a steel door and ask one question. Can you handle the weight without begging to be rescued? Look at the person who rises in an office, a business, a gym, a relationship, or a public arena. It is rarely the loudest person. It is rarely the one who complains most beautifully. It is the one who can sit inside tension without leaking control. The deadline is tight, yet their voice stays calm. The criticism is sharp, yet their face does not become a confession. The plan fails, yet they do not run around seeking pity. They adjust. They measure. They return. That kind of person becomes difficult to move because pressure no longer exposes panic. It exposes structure. And when people sense structure in you, they begin to treat you differently. Not because you asked for respect, but because your nervous system stopped asking permission. So stop romanticizing the easy road you left behind. Stop acting surprised that the difficult path is difficult. Of course it is. That is the entire point. If it were comfortable, the crowd would already be there, turning it into another noisy street full of excuses, opinions, and weak promises. The loneliness, the fatigue, the uncertainty, the slow progress, those are the gates that keep ordinary people out. And maybe that is why you are facing them now. Not because life hates you, but because life is checking whether you are still clay. The next time pressure appears, do not rush to explain it, resent it, or escape it. Look at it like a test sent to measure your price. A cheap object breaks when squeezed. A valuable one becomes more defined. The question is not W. Now bring this out of theory and place it where your life actually happens. Not in some distant battlefield. Not inside a polished speech. Place it in a normal American morning, in a small apartment, under fluorescent kitchen light, with cold coffee on the counter and bills waiting on the table. You wake up tired because you went to bed late scrolling through people who seem to be winning. You tell yourself you are behind because life gave them more advantages, better parents, better contacts, better timing. Maybe some of that is true. But here is the part your ego hates. At 6:10 in the morning, none of that matters as much as what you do next. Do you get up and move, or do you return to the soft grave of another excuse? That single moment is not small. It is a vote. And most people vote for the same weak identity every day, then act shocked when the results stay the same. Look at the office. There is always one man who complains that his manager does not recognize him, that coworkers are political, that promotions are unfair. He may be right. The workplace can be cold, biased, and full of people who smile while protecting their own interests. But watch him closely. He arrives exactly on time, leaves mentally before the day is finished, does only what is visible, speaks too much about what he deserves, and folds the moment pressure increases. Then there is another person. Quiet. Unimpressive at first. He does not argue in every meeting. He does not rush to prove he is the smartest voice in the room. He studies the system. He learns what creates value. He documents results. He becomes reliable under stress. When a deadline tightens, he does not become theatrical. When criticism comes, he does not leak resentment. Month after month, he turns himself into the person they cannot easily replace. And one day, the room that ignored him begins adjusting around him. Not because fairness finally woke up, because leverage appeared. That is the real world. Respect follows usefulness under pressure, not emotio. Now bring this out of theory and place it where your life actually happens. Not in some distant battlefield. Not inside a polished speech. Place it in a normal American morning, in a small apartment, under fluorescent kitchen light, with cold coffee on the counter and bills waiting on the table. You wake up tired because you went to bed late scrolling through people who seem to be winning. You tell yourself you are behind because life gave them more advantages, better parents, better contacts, better timing. Maybe some of that is true. But here is the part your ego hates. At 6:10 in the morning, none of that matters as much as what you do next. Do you get up and move, or do you return to the soft grave of another excuse? That single moment is not small. It is a vote. And most people vote for the same weak identity every day, then act shocked when the results stay the same. Look at the office. There is always one man who complains that his manager does not recognize him, that coworkers are political, that promotions are unfair. He may be right. The workplace can be cold, biased, and full of people who smile while protecting their own interests. But watch him closely. He arrives exactly on time, leaves mentally before the day is finished, does only what is visible, speaks too much about what he deserves, and folds the moment pressure increases. Then there is another person. Quiet. Unimpressive at first. He does not argue in every meeting. He does not rush to prove he is the smartest voice in the room. He studies the system. He learns what creates value. He documents results. He becomes reliable under stress. When a deadline tightens, he does not become theatrical. When criticism comes, he does not leak resentment. Month after month, he turns himself into the person they cannot easily replace. And one day, the room that ignored him begins adjusting around him. Not because fairness finally woke up, because leverage appeared. That is the real world. Respect follows usefulness under pressure, not emotional speeches about being overlooked. Look at the gym. In January, it is full of people wearing new shoes, carrying new bottles, announcing new versions of themselves. By March, the room is quieter. The crowd did not lose access. They lost endurance for repetition. The weights did not insult them. The treadmill did not betray them. The mirror simply refused to lie fast enough. So they disappeared. They wanted transformation, but they were addicted to quick evidence. The person who changes is not the one who feels powerful on day 1. It is the one who still shows up on day 47 when the body is sore, the weather is cold, the parking lot is half empty, and nobody is watching. That is not fitness advice. That is a law of power. Anything valuable requires a season where effort is not yet visible. If you cannot tolerate that season, you are not being rejected by success. You are being filtered by it. Look at money. The average person says he wants wealth, but watch what happens when the paycheck arrives. A little frustration, a little loneliness, a little desire to feel important, and suddenly the money is gone. Food delivery, monthly subscriptions he forgot about, clothes he did not need, gadgets to decorate an identity he has not earned. Then he says the economy is impossible. The economy may be hard, but your leaks are also real. A man who cannot control $50 will not magically become disciplined with $50,000. Money does not fix a weak structure. It exposes it. The quiet builder lives differently. He may still drive an old car. He may still rent a small place. He may still wear simple clothes. But every month, he removes one leak. He pays down one balance. He builds one skill. He stops buying applause from people who will not remember what he wore next week. Slowly, his life becomes less fragile. That is how invisible power begins. Not with a luxury watch, with fewer openings. Look at relationships. You say people drain you, use you, disrespect you. But how often do you train them to do it? You answer every message instantly. You explain every boundary as if you are asking permission to have one. You give access to your time, your mood, your plans, and your attention, Then wonder why people walk through your life like a public hallway. The stronger person does not need to become cruel. He becomes selective. He does not make announcements. He changes access. He stops rewarding disrespect with explanations. He stops handing out emotional discounts to people who have never paid the price of loyalty. And at first, they will test him. They will call him distant, cold, different. Good. That means the old version of him is no longer available at the same price. Look at social media. You post too early, speak too much, reveal too often, then feel wounded when strangers judge a life they should never have been allowed to inspect. You turn your unfinished process into public property, and now every opinion feels like attacks. The rare person builds in silence. He does not need the crowd to approve the foundation. He lets the work mature behind closed doors. Because unfinished ambition is delicate. Exposed too early, it becomes entertainment for people who have no responsibility for your future. In every area, the rule is the same. Office, gym, money, relationships, attention. The weak leak power through emotion, impulse, and the need to be seen. The strong collect power through restraint, repetition, and controlled access. So stop asking where the battlefield is. It is already under your feet. It is in the next alarm, the next purchase, the next message, the next temptation to explain, the next quiet hour where nobody praises you. That is where your future is being decided. Not in dramatic moments. In ordinary ones repeated until they become a throne. And this is the strange part no one prepares you for. The world does not change the first day you stop reacting. The people around you do not suddenly applaud your discipline. Your coworkers still whisper. Your relatives still test your patience. And now the final test begins, because it is easy to feel powerful for one quiet afternoon, but it is much harder to remain calm when the old world comes back to knock on your gate. It will come back through a message that sounds innocent, through a coworker who suddenly acts friendly, through a family member who says you have changed as if change were a crime, through an old friend who misses the version of you that was easier to borrow from, easier to interrupt, easier to read. Do not be fooled. The moment you stop giving people automatic access, they will call your boundary arrogance. The moment you stop explaining, they will call your silence cold. The moment you stop reacting, they will accuse you of thinking you are better than them. That is not truth. That is withdrawal. They are reacting to the loss of control. And this is where you must remember the entire path. You began as someone who bled power through every reaction. You answered insults because you thought silence meant defeat. You defended yourself because you were afraid of being misunderstood. You opened your plans too early because you wanted someone to believe in you before you believed in yourself. You gave too much warmth to people who used warmth as a doorway. But then something changed. You saw the hidden rule. The world does not respect the person who is always available. It respects the person who can walk away without panic. It respects the person who keeps his center when others try to shake the room. It respects the man who does not need to be loud because his discipline has already spoken for him. From this point forward, your life must become a controlled territory, not a public street where anyone can walk in with dirty shoes. A territory. Your attention is the border. Your time is the treasury. Your emotional energy is the crown. Guard them, not with anger, not with speeches, not with dramatic announcements. Guard them with standards so clear that people feel the wall before they ever touch it. For the next 30 days, test yourself. Do not explain your silence to people committed to misunderstanding it. Do not share your private goals with people who have not earned your trust. Do not respond to small provocations designed only to pull you back into your old identity. Do not post every move. Do not announce every improvement. Do not ask the crowd to bless the work you are building in private. Wake up, work, train, save, learn, build, and disappear from unnecessary noise. Let your life become quiet enough for power to grow roots. The first week will feel strange. You will reach for your phone. You will want to correct a false opinion. You will want to send the long message. You will want to prove that you are not who they think you are. That urge is the old chain tightening around your wrist. Do not obey it. Let them think what they think. A man who needs every stranger to see him correctly has already made the world his master. The second week will feel cleaner. Your mind will stop rehearsing arguments. Your body will feel lighter because it is no longer carrying conversations that never deserved a place inside you. You will begin to notice how many people only had power because you kept giving them emotional fuel. Without your reaction, their influence begins to shrink. Without your explanation, their judgment loses its stage. Without your availability, their entitlement loses oxygen. The third week is where the new identity starts to harden. You will not just act calm. You will become calm. You will not just avoid reaction. You will begin to enjoy not being reachable to chaos. You will feel the difference between loneliness and sovereignty. Loneliness says, no one is choosing me. Sovereignty says, I am finally choosing myself. And by the 30th day, you will understand why silence was never weakness. Silence was the room where your value was being rebuilt. Silence was the shield around your focus. Silence was the distance that forced people to meet your standards or lose access completely. So make this vow where no one can hear it but you. I will no longer argue with people who benefit from my confusion. I will no longer trade my peace for temporary approval. I will no longer make myself smaller so others can feel comfortable. I will build where they cannot watch. I will move where they cannot predict. I will become someone they cannot pull back with guilt, praise, insult, or nostalgia. Because the old version of me wanted to be understood, but the new version of me wants to be free. And freedom has a price. The price is losing the need to be liked by those who only loved your weakness. The price is letting them misunderstand